The views and opinions expressed in The Fact Is with Hollis Grant are those of Hollis Grant and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Droids Canada Network. Droids Canada Network does not take responsibility for any content or position produced by Hollis Grant and his show. Listener discretion is advised.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Fact Is. I'm your host, Hollis Grant, and today we're going to be talking about the great trucking revolution of 2020. The giant convoy that is moving across Canada at a slow speed, burning up fossil fuels and polluting the atmosphere, paying record high gas prices to take a protest to the capital city of Ottawa, paying record prices in gases, and paying carbon tax on top of that to make a statement about vaccine mandates. Now, this organization, movement, started out west, out in Alberta, by an individual that is also a founder of the Maverick Party of Alberta, a political party that wants to separate from Canada. So, the idea was to get together to unite for all Canadians so that vaccine mandates would not apply to the trucking industry, of which only 15% of the entire trucking industry is represented. About 16,000 people do not have vaccines. So the vast majority of truckers are completely vaccinated. And then their stance and their position is, no, we don't want to do this. Now, you would think that it would be any other industry that would have stand up to the government, but no, it happened to be truckers. Now, how are these blue-collar protesters being treated in the media? Well, it started off over the last couple days, nothing at all. Just a few posts on Facebook and not much of note. But today is the day where the nation is now concerned. The national media is concerned or worried or reporting in hopes to garner more views and clicks. But you haven't done already, take a look at droidscanada.com for all our past episodes. And other shows on there as well. Todd and Dan versus the World. So speaking of more clicks and more views and advertising revenue, what is it that the mainstream media is saying? So today, CTV News, and the article is, police urge public to avoid downtown Ottawa during trucker convoy protest. Now, I have searched and scoured the internet for any type of police dire warning to stay away from protests in the summer of 2020. And again, we're still under a health warning, a COVID emergency, a pandemic of 2 weeks to crush the curve, which has turned into over 2 years. But in 2020, while COVID was still raging on, much like it is today, and in fact, it's a little bit worse more today because it is winter and it is flu season. So people tend to get more sick in flu season. And this could be other common colds, mild strains of the flu going around, but in the summer, the police did not urge protesters to stay away. Politicians did not urge people to stay away from the BLM protests. But going back to the article, officials are urging people to avoid downtown Ottawa this weekend as a cross-country, quote, freedom convoy, end quote, of truckers expected to arrive at Parliament Hill. Police say they don't know yet how many demonstrators to expect downtown or how long they plan to stay, but they have developed a strategy that will manage the demonstrators and respond to events as they happen. This will be a significant and extremely fluid event that could go on for a prolonged period. Acting Deputy Chief Trish Ferguson told a briefing of the city's police services board on Wednesday. We are planning for a range of potential risks, including but not limited to counter-demonstrations, blocking of intersections, interfering with critical infrastructure, and an unlawful and violent activity. The convoy of truckers opposed to a vaccine mandates is expected to arrive on Parliament Hill this weekend. The convoy passed through Winnipeg on Tuesday. The movement has gathered steam nationwide, with videos showing highway gatherings in support of the truckers. Chief Peter Soley said what started out as a single demonstration, the Freedom Convoy, has changed substantially in the past 24 hours or so. Now police are preparing for other groups to flood the downtown core as well, who aren't affiliated with the main convoy. There are an increasing amount of other interested parties who are considering, if not articulating, coming to the nation's capital, Soley said. Soley also said police are monitoring a misinformation campaign on social media that suggests police officers are actively supporting the demonstrators. I can tell you that within the last 24 hours, the Ottawa Police Service received a direct threat from a counter-protest source to the safety of our officers, Soley said. That is the reality of what we've been dealing with. Ferguson said police have been in contact with the convoy's organizers and had productive and cooperative communication. They are trying to reach out to organizers of other demonstrations and counter-protests. So in their own article, they're acknowledging that a group of protesters or anti-protesters, so if we're having people come in to the city that do not agree with mask mandates, they do not want government overreach, the counter-protest to no mandates is, we want more government. We want to be controlled. And yet, we want more government, we want more control, these people are the unclean, we need to get rid of the unclean people in society, and police, we hear that you're going to support them and we are coming after you. It doesn't make much sense. Doesn't make much sense if you're in support of the government that you want to be violent with other people, you want to be violent. But those are the people that want more and more government restriction. They want more government. They want to be told what to do, and they want to force other people to do what they want to do. Back to the article. She said residents and visitors can expect to see a large police and emergency services presence in the downtown core, as well as on local roads and highways. Residents should be aware of traffic updates and expect significant delays. People who already live downtown should plan to go about their lives as normal. There's no need for people to close businesses or stay in their homes. As of right now, the message is avoid the downtown core for travel purposes, predominantly vehicular travel, Slowly said. As of right now, we don't have any information to suggest that the entire core will be untravelable. Solely noted that the convoy has been peaceful and well coordinated as it passes through cities across Canada. In every other jurisdiction so far, the core demonstration associated with the Freedom Convoy has been peaceful, lawful, and cooperative with local police, he said. However, he noted that those places were stops along the way, whereas Ottawa is the convoy's destination. Mayor Jim Watson urged the truckers and protest organizers to be respectful. You're coming into someone else's community, someone else's neighborhood, and please respect that. Make sure you keep passageways clear at all times, especially for emergency vehicles. One city councillor is urging protesters to stay away if they plan to damage infrastructure or threaten violence. Now, here is the part of the article that is most fascinating. You have a quick blurb to say, yep, not a problem, come in, we just want you to be respectful, we understand that you have trucks, just make sure that we leave some room for emergency vehicles in case there's anyone that needs help. And that's a fine message. Now, this particular person coming up, Catherine McKenney, is a traitor to the country, does not care about Canada, does not care about the community at all. And here's what good old Catherine McKenney says, although they believe protest is a legitimate part of the democratic process, the event we're looking at this weekend is not what it appears. Several members of this group are connected to militant, racist, sexist, and homophobic groups, McKenney said in a statement. Their statements and placards promote xenophobia. They are not here to raise voices against vaccination mandates, but to also fuel hatred against the very fabric of our society. Nothing but traitor talk. I believe I speak for most Somerset Ward residents and others across our city when I say to these protesters, you are not welcome here. You have the right to protest. You have the right to disagree. You do not have the right to damage our infrastructure, to threaten violence, or to spew your statements of hatred, xenophobia, and racism to those who disagree with you. Come peacefully, come respectfully, or do not come. Now, Catherine McKenney does not like violence. Catherine McKenney does not like homophobic groups. She does not like sexism. There's a good degree that she does not like fun. But most people would agree with all this stuff. But why is Catherine McKenney so quick to yell and scream all about and label people? Because Black Lives Matter. Because Catherine McKenney had absolutely no problem whatsoever with a group of people coming into the community where she lives to throw paint on statues. She had no problem with people coming into her community to throw racist statements. She had no problem of inviting people in to damage private property. And she was silent on the fact that a group of radical protesters for Black Lives Matter hijacked a committee, sat in and forced a lockdown on politicians and disrupted the democratic process, the exact same thing that potentially could have happened on January 6th in the United States, where all Democrats will remember this as the insurrection, the death of freedom, where people were so traumatized because a bunch of idiots decided to run amok. But a bunch of idiots did the same thing back in 2016 in Canada. And in fact, everyone cheered. And everyone was fine with it. And in fact, when the lockdown happened, Black Lives Matter, in 2016, on March 24th, Catherine McKenney came out of the council meeting, which was placed in lockdown after the protesters arrived, to speak with the group about the Black Lives Matter mural that was defaced back in 2015, saying it disturbed her. It's okay, group. You can come in here. You can disrupt things. You can put people's lives in danger because it's okay. That's all right. And it really disturbed me that that happened to you. But you people with your beliefs that are different than mine, you're not welcome to my community. And get out. Stay out. You're not welcome here. You have a right to protest, but just know that you're not welcome here. If you support Black Lives Matter as a protest, then you have to accept the protest of others and shut your mouth and know your role. I'd like to thank you to listening in to another edition of The Fact Is. I am your host, Hollis Grant. You have yourself a wonderful week.
Dan, what happens every Thursday?
That would be DCR Droids Canada Radio.
And what time is it at on Thursday?
That's from 9 till 11 p.m.
Dumb question, where do you find it?
You find that at accessradio.ca.
And what's the best part?
It's